Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
We have a trade to announce.
Tails.
Let's go.
How about this trade that just went down?
Wow.
Okay, so the rumor's true. Okay, we just traded you. Okay, we traded you to the Indianapolis Colts. All right. So, you okay?
Nah, I'm gonna call my grandmother.
You can call your grandmother? Okay, this hasn't hit the papers or anything like that. Okay, well, why don't we do a little business first, okay? Before you call grandma, okay?
What's up, everybody? Look at this guy. You haven't seen me in a week. Though last week, you had a phenomenal episode. The GOAT himself filled in, sat in this chair, not this exact chair, but proverbial chair, and did the trade show with Adam. Adam, you did a fabulous job. Having Ray on was incredible. By far and away, man. I think it was our most viewed episode over that time span, and rightfully so, man. Anytime you can get Ray G himself on an episode, you know the people are going to show up and watch that because he is so good. You guys did a great job. You also gave me the props, BB and 4D, breaking down a trade. It was great. I wasn't even here to gloat about it myself. You guys did it for me, but welcome back in, everybody. I'm so glad to be back on days. My body is glad to be back on days, and I'm so happy to be able to sit down and do content for you and hang out with my buddy Adam. How you doing tonight, buddy? We have been on a content marathon up until this point, but the trade show, we cannot pause that. We cannot push that back. It has to be done. The people want their damn Dynasty trade.
Listen, the trade show goes on, and under no circumstance will the trade show not get every bit of attention it deserves. It's a tough one to follow when we have Ray on last week, right? That was awesome having Ray on. But let me say this, man. We're going to get back to our roots. We got the Iowa Michael. McNutted is back. Mike, listen, you know me well enough to know by now there was no flattery in what I did. It wasn't because, you were out or any of that bullshit. T-Rock, I told you to make a deal with me and you didn't do it. And then I literally watched within seconds after your trade the 4D chess happening. T-Rock, last episode you got to see Ray break down your trade. This episode we're going to start off by letting you know that it had nothing to do with the flattery of Mike. That was more so letting T-Rock and everybody know out there what happens when you fuck around with 4D. But without further ado, Mike, let's get into another deal. This one is going to be an interesting one that we have of our own because it is a trade we made together. And, Mike, it's not the most flattering, the most sexy of deals. But let's go ahead and then let's just talk to the people. Let's bring them into our minds on our trade that went down. Speaking of a content marathon, right? Yeah, we did an hour and 45, pushing 2-hour podcast as a guest spot. Then we had AMA, which Mike was very intent to let y'all know that he's going long, hard in the paint. We did another about hour 40 there. I'm pouring up again, and we are doing the trade show. And here we had this happen live while we were doing that first podcast, Mike. So you receive $996 FAAB dollars. I receive your 23 fourth and 24 fourth. And let's admit this 23 fourth is a playoff fourth. I mean, we're talking this is a deep down fourth round pick. But let's kind of walk everybody through league dynamics, why we thought this made sense for both of us.
So this is something that we don't talk about a lot. Adam, you've really kind of hit it on the head here in the last couple of weeks, talking on AMA, Shit Show Live, doing multiple episodes where you just kind of talk about it, but nothing better than for us to make an actual trade and tell everybody why it makes so much sense. Like you look at it and you go, FAAB? The hell do you want FAAB for? I'm in the playoffs. I am fighting to win this league. I want the money. Adam, you are not in the playoffs.
Playoffs?
You are
playoffs?
Playoffs? These fours mean absolutely nothing to me, and realistically, this is a best ball league. I can't go really buy anything of consequence with these fours. Like there's not a long list of players where I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's worth a fourth and I'd have him on my team. Most people who are in your position don't have those kind of players, right? You don't have those deep dives. You don't have the Kevin Harris or the Pierre Strong still on your team. Maybe you do, but in most cases, you probably don't. Like, you don't have those guys, the Colt McCoys, these kind of players that would help me in a best ball league.
Right.
So how do I have to acquire them? Well, if they're on the waiver wire, I want to acquire them. I want that flexibility to be able to outbid my opponents, to keep them off their roster, to put them on my roster with the potential to enter my lineup. And it is best ball. And you have talked about in the past, like if we remember last year, Josh Johnson in like week 16, it might have been the championship week or week 17, comes out of nowhere, starts one game, and is a top quarterback on the week. Like, holy shit.
Right.
That's the kind of guy that you want to blow your FAAB on in the playoffs, because that could propel you to a win. So for both of us, this makes incredible sense. And even if I'm on the other side, like I have plenty of tanking teams where you're competing at them, and I'm looking at it going, if there is a theoretical 4th round pick on the waiver wire, right? Just a 2023 4th, you know it's going to be mid to late. How much of my remaining FAAB would I spend on it? And the answer is fucking all of it. All of it. Like, what else am I going to do with this? I'm not picking up a Josh Johnson or a Colt McCoy on a rebuilder, because these guys probably don't have jobs next year and probably aren't doing anything. Nobody's going to give me anything for them in 2023 at the beginning of the year. I'd have to hold them the entire year and hope to God at some point they're going to get a spot start where I might be able to get a 4th round pick out of somebody. So if there's already one available on the waiver wire, I'd spend all my money. I would spend everything I had. Like these are 35, 36, 37 man rosters in most of these leagues we play in, these best ball leagues.
Right.
The waiver wire is generally turds. It's generally turds. Anybody with a pulse who may get a value bump next year is already on somebody's roster.
Yeah.
Draft picks are not.
Nope.
Draft picks are not on the waiver wire. So I thought this made incredible sense, but it's a kind of deal that we don't talk about very much. It's not sexy. You look at FAAB and 4th round picks. 4th round picks. It's just gross all the way around, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on a few things here, but when you get to the playoffs, and this is going to be a best ball thing. This is not a lineup thing, right? Like in lineup leagues, when you get to the playoffs, you're not going to be looking at like some gem out there that's worth bidding a shit ton of FAAB on, and then it's like, okay, in an unknown situation, whether it's injury or an injury basically before that person is likely what's going to lead to them making the field in this time, right? You're not going to feel good enough to say, I'm going to start Josh Johnson. Like, you would have to have a newspaper from the next day saying Josh Johnson's going to have a fucking awesome day for you to say, I'm going to start him, even in Superflex. Like, it's just not going to happen. Whereas in best ball, you don't have to care about any of that, right? So the money is absolutely worth all the risk, because in a lot of these leagues that we play in, Mike, that are best ball, you're looking at 30 plus, right? That's like typically what a dynasty roster is in the range of 30 plus. And when you get to 30 plus, you're probably carrying a few people on your team that really have no weight of making your lineup. Those are the people in best ball you need to start cutting that really don't have much of a chance to make your roster, even if you think it's some dynasty long-term play. You know, the Hunter Longs of the world, whoever it may be, you need to forgo that. You can make that back later. Right now, you need every person in your lineup to have a chance to make it, even if it's gross. You know, what was the 3rd stringer for the Ravens at quarterback last year? Funny enough, I don't think he's worth much of an ad, but here we are. The 3rd stringer for the Ravens is going to be starting probably again next week, right? Like, the whole point is that money gives you the hammer to go get whatever option has the best chance at snap share, whether it's not a quarterback, whether it's a quarterback that's starting, you know, Colt McCoy if he's out there still, Brown, whoever it is for the Ravens. You have this money to go spend and get whoever you need or whoever has the most opportunity to give you a big week. It makes the most sense. And here's the problem for me on the other side, right? I just gave you all the reasons why the FAAB's worth it. But here I am sitting there on this rebuild with 996. Mike, what is it? 1,000?
Yep.
So I've used 4.4% of my budget, Mike. I mean, I haven't done fuck all with it. I got news for you. I'm not going to do fuck all with it in the playoffs, because I probably am not going to go try to add one of these dog shit turds and try to flip him. Once again, it's going to net me a 4th. Let's say I landed the Josh Johnson. What am I going to sell him for? A 4th? You're not going to sell him for a 3rd. You're not going to sell him for a 2nd. So I'm getting 2 force. I'm giving Mike the hammer. Call it whatever you want. It's not a gross deal. I mean, it is a gross deal, but it's not a deal that's not worth anything. I'm getting force. Maybe those give me nothing in value, but they're pieces I can either draft or trade. Isaiah Pacheco, for those of you who don't know, was a 4th-round pick by and large in a lot of leagues this year, depending on when you drafted. So I don't want to spend too much time on it, Mike. Any other points that you had?
You just think about it from your perspective too, or the rebuilder's perspective.
Right.
Like getting those picks, you don't necessarily have to make them, but what if you're competing next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's more ammo. That's more grease that you can go to make a kind of deal like this next year when you need it, right? Now you got 2 extra force. You can go buy $1,000 FAAB from somebody else come playoff time if you really needed to compete, or during the draft time, that may be just the actual ammo or capital that you need. Like, I'll give you 2 force if I can move up 5 spots to get the guy that I like. So either way it works out. These are actually pieces that a rebuilder can use however they see fit, and some FAAB that they weren't going to use at all. And that was probably just going to, you're going to go out the rest of the year and you're still going to have $996 FAAB when the season actually ends. Right.
It's kind of like the old adage: you can't take the money to the grave. Once you die, you can't do anything with it. And here's the thing: Mike actually sent this for his 23 4th and 23 5th. Those are his only picks left. It's funny you bring this up, Mike, because that was actually the reason. The 4th and the 5th, like realistically, the value difference of them not much. But I wanted your 24 4th because now I have on receipts that I took this deal. And now I have a 4th. I don't even know if I'm going to compete in this league next year. But you keep making these deals, and then all of a sudden, listen, I've taken these deals. You know that I'm not bullshitting you. Here's my 4th. What if I can get 449? Let me see what this 4th can do later on, even if I don't make the pick. So anyway, there's that deal. I would say this takeaway for everybody watching: if you're rebuilding and it's a best ball league, I would be sending out your FAAB to anybody that will actually give you picks back, because you're probably not going to do anything with it but burn it. And if you're a contender, you need to start thinking about how you can get more FAAB on your team, especially in the playoffs, so that you have the hammer to go get whoever you want. I know it sounds crazy, but Isaiah McKenzie won people weeks. Braxton Berrios won people weeks. Josh Johnson won people weeks. I don't know who they are today, but I can promise you when we do the trade show the week after the fantasy championship, I can name you 3 or more people that help people win weeks. Go have the FAAB, have the opportunity to get them. Let's get on to another person's deal. Okay, Mike, we had to start here. This is our boy Blitzing Buzzard.
Trade.
Yeah, man. This is really good. Love seeing Blitzing Buzzard, one of the few people I've seen already in a startup like we've done with some of our shitheads, Mike. So Blitzing Buzzard is receiving the 22. So basically, let's just understand this is a startup trade, right? So he's getting Chris Olave, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the 1209 in a startup, which he's yet to make that pick, right? So think 12th round startup picks. On our startup heat map, we kind of value that as a 2nd round, probably later 2nd round pick in value, right? He is sending away the 1101, the 301, and the 412, as well as a 24-2. Now, if you look at the screen below, you'll be able to see that those picks turned into A.J. Dillon, T. Higgins, JaMo, and a 24-2. So, Mike, when we start thinking about this deal, right, you're looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, and the 1209 for T. Higgins, JaMo, A.J. Dillon, and a 24-2.
Is this this is a lineup league, correct?
So here we go. Let me give you the settings. Startup trade. It's a 12-team lineup start 11 league. So yes, you are setting lineups.
This isn't because, I know IMT Lou too. We play in a league together as well.
Mm-hmm.
I had good respect for the guy. Adam, the way the Dynasty landscape has shifted, I love the whole tier down aspect of it. When you put actual player names to it, though, this is everything Scott Connor's kind of talking about in your roster construction series that he's doing, which is phenomenal. You're getting 2 legit wide receivers, like 2 legit pieces. Now, T. Higgins is fucking dope, right? At the 301 where IMT Lou took him, absolutely phenomenal. And we just had a conversation on the AMA about T. Higgins and Amon-Ra and Waddle and how would you rank them. I'm telling you, Amon-Ra and T. Higgins are a lot closer than people want to admit. And Amon-Ra might actually be above T. Higgins. Like, let's just say that and get it out there. But He gets 2 of them. Chris Olave is phenomenal in his own right. Rookie year has been great. You and I will go back and forth about wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 of this rookie class, and we will argue until we're blue in the face, but it doesn't matter. Chris Olave is fantastic. Amon-Ra, Chris Olave, and whatever the hell he gets for the 1209 by far and outweighs the T. Higgins, JaMo, A.J. Dillon thing for me. You take the Amon-Ra part, you can cancel out the T. Higgins. Boom, we're done with that part of the deal. Chris Olave for A.J. Dillon and JaMo, I would still rather have the Chris Olave part as much as I like to tear down and diversify assets. I just haven't seen enough from JaMo outside of one long, uncovered, wide open 40-yard touchdown pass. The second's nice and everything, but, blitzing buzzer's still getting the 1209. Like, we don't know what player that's going to be. You insert another player in there, unless he completely screws that up, it's still going to be a decent enough player that's going to cancel out the A.J. Dillon part, and I for sure want the Chris Olave, Amon-Ra 1209 part of the startup trade.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on a lot of it. Let me say this too. I think what's nice about this and the way you look at this trade, I think this is one of the things we need to admit and we need to get ready to wrap our mind around again with startups is this. We talk a lot about startup values, where people go in ADP, and how that really gives you an idea of what their values are. And it helps you form tiers for players, right? And I think the thing you have to remember here, Mike, is this. That's ADP. That's generalized talk, right? In your league, in your exact startup, like ADP is one thing. What people are going to do is another. And it's funny because, like, when you're talking the 4D chess side of it, for me anyway, I'm thinking about this, and like he already made, right, the 301. At least it looks like it. I can't tell who made it, but it says Blitzing Buzzard under there. That was his pick, right? He traded it away. I don't know who made the pick, whether he traded up for the 301 to do this. To me, this looks like when you're sending in that second back, he's actually Blitzing Buzzard is looking to acquire like 304 or 307 after 301's already been made. Mm-hmm. So what's funny to me is when I look at Keep Trade Cut, so T. Higgins, I love him still. I'm very much a T. Higgins guy. I know people aren't. But Keep Trade Cut actually has T. Higgins behind Amon-Ra St. Brown and Chris Olave on their rankings, right? And this is what the general consensus is from people today. So what's funny is you're sending away T. Higgins, who's ranked behind both of those receivers. To your point, though, Mike, like you could make the case for any one of those guys in a tier, right? Like put the names aside. When you go to startup values, let's even say you net even at 301 to 304, but the 307, once you put a name to it versus the 412, okay, startup values may not feel that different for you, but Chris Olave's price versus Jameson Williams' price is drastic. Absolutely crazy drastic.
Yes.
The second and the 1101 of A.J. Dillon, right? So when you think start 11, A.J. Dillon's enticing, but he's not by any means an essential piece. A 24 second, if I think my team's going to be good enough where it's going to be late, you can have both those pieces. 1209, here's the thing, Mike. If you took 1209 out of it, like I can understand more where the other side is, like IMT Lou's saying, yeah, I'm getting 4 pieces, they're all going to be young, ascending talents. I can figure out a way to maneuver it. Like I don't even know what 1209 is, and I still want that side. So like whatever 1209 is, like yes, give me that too. But I would take those 2 for 4 even in start 11, man, in lineup. Listen, I'm too. This is nothing personal against you if you're watching the show, but for me, given that format, Jameson Williams, a lot's going to have to go right for me in my mind on Jameson Williams for this to work out for you. So that's my pushback.
It almost feels like, and we just did a startup not too long ago. And if you follow any of our content, we've talked about it. Adam's talked about it with Jay Rich on 4D. Me and him have talked about it. We talked about it on Tuesday Night AMA. I think for me, visually, it's the Jameson Williams thing at the 412 that gets me. And I think JaMo's fucking phenomenal. If he hadn't gotten injured, I have no idea realistically where I would have ranked him, but it would have been really high in the pre-draft process. I thought he was great. You and I did a podcast on him way back when we were first starting out, just how much we love Jameson Williams. the 412 just
Loved
feels
him too back then.
so damn rich. Like I think about our startup and where he went versus like some of the other guys who went around the 412. Some of those guys, if you were to plug into the spot, like if you were to plug in Treylon Burks instead of Jameson Williams here, like does that make you feel a little bit different? Like
I'm
T.
looking at it
Higgins,
different.
Treylon, AJ Dillon, and the second. Like that almost makes me like, I could tear down from Chris Olave to Treylon in a second. As much as I love Chris Olave, like I'm thinking like I'm trying to think ahead here, right? I get to move up from the 12th round to the 11th round. I'm not the biggest AJ Dillon guy, but he's a fine player at that spot. I think that is the key for me when I look at it. It's just like this almost is betting too much on Jameson Williams from what we've seen that I don't feel comfortable doing.
Mike, this just hit me. And you know what, man? I think this is going to be the thumbnail, and I think this is something that is so big. I'm T-Lou. You are, I think, what I really dive into this and start thinking as you're talking about this. I think this is why Amon-Ra is priced at 304 and is not going to go north of this. And I think what's crazy is this is a trade that literally signals people are not willing to buy into Amon-Ra still. And on the other side, Jameson Williams is believed by a lot of people to be the alpha, this perceived alpha that's going to overtake that. I literally think this is the trade that shows it. And what's funny, man? We talked about this. You saw it last week. Ray and I were on here. Why won't people buy into Amon-Ra St. Brown? When are they going to realize that the next thing coming to take him out of the way doesn't matter because he's still dope? Here we go, man. The next week, we get a trade in a startup, and when you start convolutedly breaking it down, there it is. On paper, on wax, I think you have a conversation here. What is the difference between Amon-Ra and JaMo? And for some people, it's not that much. And I think people are ready to see JaMo overtake Amon-Ra. I got news for you. I've made a lot of wrong takes, player analysis. I don't think this one's coming. Give me blitzing buzzer side, man. So
there we go.
All right, next deal. 12 teams, Superflex, best ball, start 12. It is a 2-point tight end premium, Mike. So we got JRD 1016 acquiring Dawson Knox, Justin Jefferson, Antoine or Alec Pierce, a 23 first, a 24 second, and a 25 first for Mark Andrews. Now, 2-point tight end premium, let's admit, if that's a full 2-point tight end premium like we're in that shit league, man, that's a huge advantage, right? So you get Mark Andrews, you get Tyreek Hill, you get Tony Pollard, you get Tom Brady. This is a big boy deal, Mike. The Jefferson thing on the other side is really, I think, what's tripping me out. But I see this as a push-in move for the Zebby Bobby side, and I see this as a rebuild on the other. But I'm going to tell you what we have not seen in a long time, probably since like the summer, is anybody that's contending moving off of their Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mike, what are your thoughts on this deal given this format's best ball start 12?
All right, so I'll break it down from the Zebby Bobby side. As a contender first, if I'm looking at it, give me Tony Pollard and Tom Brady over Dawson Knox, Alec Pierce, and my second. Like, you can have that shit in 2024. Take it. You take the Dawson Knox, you take the Alec Pierce. I'll go ahead and take Tom Brady. I know he hasn't been playing well, but Tony Pollard has. Tom Brady's still a quarterback, and we see quarterbacks go down left and right. If I'm a contender, just give me another dude. Just give me another dude. When I look at the other part, like Justin Jefferson, Mark Andrews, I think it's close in 2 tight end premium, right? 2-point tight end premium. I think it's close. Jefferson probably still wins out because he's just phenomenal. 2 firsts for Tyreek and one of them being in 25. Like, I'm okay with that. I am really okay with that, especially being my 23 first. If I'm contending, I just get this deal done. I don't know how much of a difference there is between Jefferson and Tyreek as far as like warp goes or advantage, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's probably not massive. It's not something I can't overcome. So even if you wanted to go Jefferson and Tyreek, I take a loss, but I got to trade 2 firsts for Mark Andrews. Lamar's not there. That does suck. Tyler Huntley, now we get Anthony Brown or whatever the fuck it is at quarterback. But Mark Andrews is still an elite stud at the tight end position. And if anybody at the tight end spot's going to go off with a dog shit third string quarterback, it's going to be a guy like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce. And if I can't get Travis Kelce, I'm perfectly good with Mark Andrews. I love it from the contender side. Looking at it from the other side as a rebuilder, the Dawson Knox piece, like, I could do without. I guess if I got to get something back, maybe somebody loves Dawson Knox, I can flip him. I know the 24 seconds probably late. I know the 23 first is probably late. The 25 first is just so far out. I'm going to assume by that time his team is dead. I hate giving up Tyreek, but if I'm not competing, like, there's no real reason for me to hold these older type assets who are about to die. So I want to get off Brady. I'm thinking about Tyreek. Could he be good for another 2-3 years? Absolutely. We just had this conversation with Ray in the Discord about it. I think I could, and I can just kind of throw the shit aside. I think he's phenomenal. But the Dynasty community as a whole is a fickle beast. They're a bunch of assholes, and they're going to look at Tyreek and go, he's 29. He's basically dead. He's not worth anything anymore. I don't care how much he produces. Tony Pollard has an uncertain future. I think I'm fine with the JRD side as well. I like the trade from both sides, other than the Dawson Knox piece. Like, if I'm on a rebuilder, if I'm JRD, like, you can't give me Dawson Knox, bro. Like, fuck out of here. Give me something else. Give me another second. Give me a first. Give me a James Cook type or whatever, like one of these lawn dogs that I think can ascend in value. But I'm perfectly good getting Justin Jefferson. Alec Pierce is a nice start throw. Even though the picks may be on the later side, I'm willing to bet against Zebby Bobby in 24 with his second, and especially in 25 with his first, and just do a little future casting. So I do like this deal for both sides. I think this really makes sense for both teams, and I see a path for both ones where I could talk it in. Like I said, though, the only thing that I don't like is if I'm on the rebuilder side, fuck out of here with your Dawson Knox, bro. I don't want that.
Interesting way you break that down. Let me say this. I have a lot of thoughts going on in my head right now about this deal, but I'm going to start off by breaking this down a few different ways, right? Let me just talk on the trade value first, and let me talk on both sides. So first, I'm looking at this, like, when I think about Tony Pollard and what he's been and what he's potentially going to be, like, they can opt out of Zeke next year, man, right? So you're talking about Tony Pollard smashing, and they may opt out of Zeke. I don't know if they do it, but point is, like, all summer, the fact that they can opt out as soon as the season's over, there's going to be a little bit of Tony Pollard even bump, I think, which is crazy to think about.
Okay.
The way I look at that, Mike, is this. Like, if you told me that I can trade my 25 first in best ball for Tony Pollard, that pick is gone. I will do that immediately. Like, if you tell me I can trade my 25 first, which is 3 years out on a strong best ball contender, you give me Tony Pollard, I will figure the hell out what I'm going to figure out with 25. Boom.
Very fair.
Done.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with you.
Okay, so then I look at it this way. Like, if I'm sending, let's even call it Brady and Pierce, Pierce and that second, which I think is going to be late if I'm doing this, right? You're thinking that way when you're in the playoffs already. For Brady, like, I know Brady's unsexy, and I know Brady could retire as soon as the year's over, but when you talk about the Superflex quarterback position in best ball, like, even last week, man, he was quarterback 18. Like, understand how bad the quarterback landscape is, and then the week prior, he's quarterback 9. He has not been outside of a top 20 quarterback but 3 weeks, and that's going way back earlier in the year. Like, as a chance to be that quarterback 2 staple, fuck it, man. Here's Antoine Pierce. Here's my second. There you go. You know, I got Matt Ryan throwing the football to Antoine Pierce. I'll forego it all again. All right. So now we get to the meat, right? We get to the real discussion of the deal here. So we got left Dawson Knox, the 23 first, Justin Jefferson, for Mark Andrews and Tyreek Hill. And I think this is where this one's kind of crazy to think about, right? So you could break this down a few ways when you get past that point. So when I'm looking at this, knowing it's 2 point per tight end, like, I think Andrews is very close to Jefferson, but I think that people will still lean Jefferson, right? Let's even say you wax those, right? I think with a slight lean to Jefferson. So let's say, instead of waxing it, let's say you're up a second on the Jefferson side to go up.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you have an extra second. So now I think about this. Tyreek Hill, a late 23 first, a second, and Dawson Knox to get Tyreek Hill. Sign me the fuck up, right? I like what Zebby Bobby did from a dynasty perspective. Let me just say what my problem is, though. I think what you're doing is you're really paying up for Mark Andrews. Here's my problem with this on a contender, right? Because you're getting Brady, you're getting Hill, and Pollard. As much as we kind of talked him up, like all these arrows could be trending down sooner than later.
Yes.
Right. So here
except for maybe Andrews. Like that's the only one that could really stay pat.
I'm sorry, you're right. Correct. That's what I meant. Brady, Hill, and Pollard. All these arrows could be trending down when situations change, when next year starts up. So this really, to me, is all about going to win. And I think what happened here is you ended up getting tricked into the Andrews helping you win because his dynasty value is not going to be hurt, right? Like dynasty value, he's probably fine. Here's the problem, Mike. Like when you think about Mark Andrews, right? Okay, so you had early in the year, the first 6 weeks, tight end 12, tight end 1, tight end 1. He had a horrible week in week 4. I don't know if he didn't play or got hurt. Then he had tight end 3, tight end 2. Since then, though, Mike, everyone listening, tight end 51 in week 7 versus Cleveland. Tight end 23 in week 8. Then he didn't play in week 9, had the bye. He did have a tight end 7 week, but understand that's not actually like league-winning shit, right? Then you have tight end 11, tight end 11, tight end 23, and now you're going into the fantasy playoffs with a tight end that hasn't really scored well and has a third-string quarterback throwing him the football. Like, I think the crux of this deal winning for you is Andrews actually being that Kelsey-type scorer, and I don't think you can project that that's going to happen. So now in the summer, Mike, all of a sudden I really want JRD 1016 side, which I know is the shithead in this deal. And I think when I think about this, right, this seems like one of those deals for a contender where it's like, man, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go win. But, boy, you better win, and you better hope Andrews is giving you those points for that 2 point per catch because, I don't know, man. Like, if you don't win with this, all of a sudden Jefferson's easily the most valuable asset in the deal, and you're getting the first, and you have way out when this team could break down that 25 first. This is crazy, man, but as I'm walking through this, I actually want the other side.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. I do like it from both sides, and I do see exactly what you're saying. I think Mark Andrews, though, may be the kind of player that just comes out, like next week we look at it, and he caught like 7 passes.
Well,
he scored like 30 points in this fucking format, and we're going, all right.
Mike, you're 100% right, everybody watching, because you watched last week and you saw me and Ray just trashed Jerry Jeudy for him to go score 3 tutties. So let's just – you're 1,000% right there. So that's my analysis anyway. It's still a good deal for both sides. I just man,
Tom Brady again.
Here we go, man. And you know what? We already got the thumbnail, so forget y'all. It's Amon-Ra and JaMo. But
good try, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, you already got the divorce papers. You're not getting a thumbnail. But this one, Mike, okay, because it's interesting. I just said like that second and Pierce. Castle Black is sending away Brady for the 23 second of Fantasy Will, a 23 fourth. This is a Superflex lineup, start 9. That pick is currently the 202.
Oh, my God.
Now, here's the other thing, Mike. What's crazy is he is a contender. But it's a lineup start 9, and here's the thing. He has Herbert, Pickett, and Goff as his quarterbacks outside of Brady.
Yeah, I'm good, man. See you, Tom. Adios. I think we talked about this a little bit in the Discord when he asked about it. Like, as long as you're good at the third quarterback spot. Now, Kenny Pickett just did a concussion, and it kind of goes like a little bit iffy.
But you're still going to have this week, outside of something crazy midweek injury, you're going to have Herbert and Goff this week.
I'm telling you, in about 3 fucking weeks when Tom Brady officially retires, probably for the last time, no matter how much we want to do this song and dance about him going to San Francisco or playing till he's 50, like, it really feels like it's over. Like, it's done. You couldn't even get that 4th. You couldn't even get that 4th, and he's finessing a second. And the 202 at the time. Holy shit.
Now, let me ask you this, because as someone that I watched buy Brady retired for a 4th, the McNutted, the Iowa hat wearing guy right now. Okay, let's say Brady retires. Now, we've seen him retire. We've seen that this guy can't walk away from the game, right?
Yes.
Hypothetically, and this is just trying to paint a best-case scenario. Hypothetically, Brady walks away from the game. Lance, recovery isn't going well or whatever. Jimmy, they're not going to keep or pay. Brady does go to Frisco. It's August time. It's, late July, early August. Brady starting for the San Francisco 49ers or whatever that 202 is in value.
I will still take the 202.
Okay, fair enough. And I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to that because I think people might get absolutely wild on what Brady would be in that offense.
Hypothetical situation, we're talking about a 46-year-old Tom Brady.
47, right?
Yeah, 46. He's 45.3 right now.
Okay.
As of today.
Okay.
So it'd be 46.
46. All right.
A 46-year-old Tom Brady in San Francisco with a quarterback behind him, like you just said, Trey Lance is struggling or the recovery isn't going so well, that at some point they're going to pivot to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm willing to go out on a limb here today, December 13th, when we're recording this and saying Brady's done with football after this year.
All right.
Like this is a bad enough taste. The man got a divorce because he couldn't stay away from football. He came back. He's going to be 46. The team that he's playing for right now sucks. They look slow. They look old. He's definitely 1,000% finished in Tampa Bay. Like he's not coming back to this shit to go 6-6.
No,
at this point in the year.
The Tampa thing's over for sure.
Yeah, it's done. Maybe one of these teams could finagle him away. Maybe, but it is the slimmest chance. Like I think he is 100% done, Adam. Like I think it is over for him. And if I have any semblance of a third quarterback, a depth quarterback, because I really hope I'm not a contender relying on Tom Brady. Like you just kind of sung his praises about what he's done, and he's been a fine QB2. I just don't feel good about it going into the playoffs as him as my QB2. Like I wish I had a better option. Like I feel as a much better contender if I've got a couple top 12 options instead of Tom Brady as my second quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I'm in that position, I'm 1,000% on Castle Black. And for the reasons that you said, even in that hypothetical scenario next year, I'd probably still want the 202 over Tom Brady. No doubt. The fourth is just an afterthought.
Interesting. Well, let me say this. I think the whole reason I bring the hypothetical up is to try to make it interesting as far as this deal, right? If Brady doesn't help you in a start 9 win a title right now, and he retires, I mean, this deal's horrible for you. The reason I bring up the hypothetical is, let me say, I think Castle Black, especially given what he has going on from a contender standpoint, you're not going to probably get better than Brady. Better than the 202 for Brady regardless. The one thing I will say, though, is, Mike, like when I watch, like I'm not actually sure that Brady's lost anything this year other than an offensive line. And when I think about what Brady is a guy that has been a statue for a long time, right? He's got to get the ball out of his hands quick. And when you look at what he had last year, you got Evans, you got Godwin, all healthy. You had a great offensive line before the injuries. They lost, Jensen, the center, early. The offensive line is not what it was. The team isn't what it was. The coach isn't the same. There's a lot of different moving parts here. So when I think about what's going on in the NFL and I think about what the landscape is, you have a bunch of teams that I think don't know what they want to do but could win and have good offensive lines. I think of like Detroit. I think of like Seattle. I think of a lot of different teams that could say, maybe we can get Brady. And it's not for anything other than 1 year run. And maybe this guy can form the same magic he did in Tampa. And here's what I will say. The reason I bring all that to people's attention is when you look at what he did 2 years ago, not this year, last year, in Tampa, this is league winning in any format. Start 9, start 5, right? All that being said, if massive ifs I'm throwing here for it to hit, he's got to not retire. He's got to go to a situation with an offensive line. He's got to go to a place that has weapons. I do think there's a scenario, be it a slim chance, that Brady could be worth more than the 202 if everything checks the boxes. But I think there's a 95 or greater % chance that 202 is the smart play now, regardless. And also keep in mind, you have all summer to move 202 today for more and more and more. So I think S. Story got sold a bag that's not likely to win here. But I will say, with the GOAT, Tom Brady, I counted him out versus Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He won. I counted him out that whole year. He was great in fantasy. Just when everybody wants to count him out again, this man lost his marriage. I don't know that I can sit here today and tell you Tom Brady is done. Although it makes sense, I don't know that I can tell you that. I think there's a rare scenario where it wins out. But Castle Black Man, I think you won the deal for sure.
We started this trade with me apologizing and saying bye, Tom. I'm going to finish it with saying
bye, Tom. Fair. You know, I like to defend the other side if I can. I tried my best. I think I gave a good case, but I think it's still a losing side. All right, so tiered PPR, tight end premium, 12-team best ball league. It's a start 12, Mike. Our boy Liebert's getting Hayden Hurst, a 23 first from RX Goose, and his third. He is sending away Keenan Allen, Matt Collins, and Dalton Schultz. Once again, 12-team best ball, start 12. Pick a side here, Mike. Talk to the people.
I mean, these are two of my guys, right? Goose, Liebert. These are old school guys from years ago.
Mike, when I pulled this trade, I'm literally thinking like when we had our first, you and I, OG patron 30-40 listeners, right? Like our first podcast. I remember talking about teams that you had with these two. So I was like, this has to make the deal.
This does. Goose, what the fuck are you doing, man? What are you doing? Listen,
there's a lot of ways I think this could go wrong, but go ahead.
Even if that 23 first is late.
Let's call it 112. Let's just call it 112 for the sake.
Best case scenario, it's the 112. It's worth more than Keenan Allen. Period.
Which makes that the 312 too.
No question about it. Now, Hayden Hurst in the 312 for Dalton Schultz.
And Matt Collins is a throw-in?
You could make a case for Dalton Schultz and Matt Collins. You could.
Absolutely, you could make a case on that side.
I just can't get over the 23 first, man.
For
Even
Allen?
the 112 for Keenan Allen, man. Keenan Allen has been banged up, not playing. When he does play, it hasn't been phenomenal. It hasn't been.
Were you encouraged this last week? Because he looked a lot more spry and had more targets.
He did for sure. It's just, if he looks this bad right now this year, what do you think he looks like next year? Like dead?
Okay. There's no debate with where his value will trend. I guess the question for you, Mike, is the 112 is basically burning the 112 for Keenan Allen if he helps you win a title worth it? That's, I think, where the trade here really lies. I'm not saying there's the right answer. I think that's the reality of the question, though.
Yes, in that statement, what you're making, yes. If he helps me win the title, yes, it's 100% worth it. Because
I think, let me just say this, man, and this is one of the, honestly, and these next trade shows that we have, hopefully y'all keep bringing deals, because as long as you bring deals, we're going to do the trade show. I think these next few weeks we're going to get a lot of these types, Mike, where it's literally like you got to understand it gets almost to redraft type mindsets, right? Like I'm trying to see what 112 buys me, and it's not buying me what I think, right? Here's what I'll say about Keenan Allen. Dude, first of all, you have, before the bye, the man played 2 weeks and basically got hurt in both games, didn't even finish, right? You're like, this guy's cooked. Took the bye and two weeks after that, right? Came back in week 11, didn't play the whole time, but then the next 3 weeks, Mike, he's played all the snaps. He's been healthy. The last 2 weeks especially, in a Justin Herbert-led offense, which last week versus Miami, you're looking at a guy that has had 14 targets the last 2 weeks.
Fair, yep.
You got wide receiver 13, wide receiver 21 the last 2 weeks in the fantasy playoffs. Like, can the guy stay healthy and getting 14 targets from Herbert? Can he be league winning? That, I guess, is the question. That's ultimately the question, because I think everyone would burn the 112 if they could win a title. But ultimately the question is, does Keenan Allen actually win you a title? I don't know. I think there's a scenario, but we still haven't really seen with all those targets like a smash week. We saw 88 and a touchdown 2 weeks ago. That was a pretty good week.
How about this, man?
Spit it to me, though. I'm making the case for this side. Tell me.
100%. I get it. What if I would have told you Goose? This is why this is also something because I play in this league. I'm in this league, right?
Here we go. I didn't know you were in the league. There you go. I need inside sources. I'm in this league.
I'm a contender. Goose is the 6th seed, like official. He's in the playoffs as the 6th seed.
All right, so that changes it for me because you already now have to win a wild card week. Okay.
He's in the 6th seed. Out of everyone in the playoffs, he has the 2nd lowest point scored. Is this enough? Like, if you're in that position, you're just sneaking into the playoffs as the 6th seed, 2nd lowest point scored in the entire league as far as playoff contenders go. Are you willing to leverage your first for Keenan Allen, Dalton Schultz, Mac Hollins?
So is it a scenario where he had a bunch of injuries and he's healthy now and Allen is like a smash? Like, let me ask you that because I think the question is for me, because now what you're bringing to the table is different. Everyone, I hope this conversation actually helps you think about dynasty trades.
So quarterback-wise, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady.
Okay.
Best ball league, right? Superflex. That's it.
No other quarterbacks? Wow.
I guess maybe Mitch Trubisky if he starts this
week.
Well,
Mitch will probably play this week. Okay.
Running backs, Christian McCaffrey. Javonte Williams is dead as far as he's concerned.
Okay, so he's got CMC.
Latavius Murray is his RB2.
Okay.
I'm not trying to gloss over shit.
No. I'm listening. You know Go ahead.
Adams, Diggs, Cooper. So nice wide receivers.
And add Keenan Allen.
Add Keenan Allen now. And Mac Hollins and Garrett Wilson.
Ooh. Okay.
And then tight ends, you're looking at Schultz. His next best tight end would be Bob Tonyan.
And Tonyan with Rodgers would be a stack, but it's not likely. Tonyan hasn't been a great stack for Rodgers.
No one gives a shit about this. You know what I mean? Like this.
Well, so here's the problem here. All right, so the conversation changes tune for me. And where I was arguing the 112, this is kind of more like I'm thinking, all right, a team with a bye that's positioned really well, that has a good team. In best ball, Keenan Allen could be a top. He's already been a top 13 wide receiver with 14 targets 100%. The last 2 weeks. He could be a wide receiver 1 for the next 3 weeks. 100%. I would forego 112 for that. I think the conversation totally changes here, Mike, because one, the team's not that strong, which you named me, even though it could win. I think the problem is now you're forgoing what could be 107, and that isn't because you already told me that he's the last team in. So if he loses, that's the 107. The fact that could be 107. No argument from my side anymore because even if you win here, I think the risk is not worth the reward. Like if that's the 107, fuck, man. Like I want Schultz over Hurst by quite a bit, but what 107 is going to be worth in the summer versus what Keenan Allen is, fuck, man. And Mac Hollins is going to be one of these like turds that no one cares about anymore. So
I will say this: in a lineup league, I might be more willing to ride the variance and to like sell out on the hopes because you see those 6 seeds, those 5th seeds win all the time.
Sure.
Now, I'm not saying it can't happen in best ball, but you and I have been in enough best ball leagues and have seen it where generally those teams who are 5th or 6th, they're 5th or 6th in best ball for a reason. They're just not consistent enough to win weeks. And now you're talking about having to win 3 in a row without taking a loss against the best competition that you have seen all year. That is really tough to do in a best ball league. That's what makes best ball and lineup so damn different. In lineup, I think I could ride the variance. I think I could make the bet that this pick is going to be the 112 and maybe ride it out that Keenan Allen continues his hot streak and he scores a shit ton of points in the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
And he might keep it going in the second round of the playoffs and actually carry me to wins. In a best ball league though, Adam, like if I'm going into that position, I can't fucking do it, man. I cannot send that what could be the 107 or the 108 away for Keenan Allen, Dalton Schultz.
If you told me the quarterback room was a lot different, I think I could even still like if you told me you had a kind of a shallow running back room with CMC given the situation.
Quarterbacks like
you
Josh
got
Allen and
if
Mahomes,
you told me that was Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, and add in one of these turds, Purdy or whatever, like I'm feeling a lot better. But the fact that you've had 2 quarterbacks that have had pretty low floors as your only 2 quarterbacks, I can't do it, man. Because I think the other thing, too, I think what we have to kind of admit, last point, because we have a bunch of more deals to get to. We're already probably almost an hour in, is that I think there's a scenario, too, where you're so leaned into competing that like 112 right now or 107 right now isn't going to really help you. You're looking at like 2, 3, 4 years rebuilding. Fuck it. Lean into it. But does Keenan Allen, with no stack, with those receivers that you mentioned, with no stack, your stack is Bob Tonyan and Aaron Rodgers. Like in best ball, no depth. Like I think the problem here is this is more of a you're kind of hoping and praying. Now, best ball, it absolutely could happen. Everything breaks right for you. You go up against teams that have all these injuries. Yes, it absolutely could win. I think, though, the whole point of the show here, 4D Chess Dynasty Trade Show, is process over results. When I think about the process, I want the other side. So give me Liebert's side on this deal. All right, so we got shit 4 here, Mike. So obviously this is best ball, long starters. I actually don't know shit 4 off the top of my head, scoring from it. But we got what's clearly a directional trade here, right? We got our boy Pasta making a trade. He's trading away his Cooper Kupp. So imagine having Cooper Kupp held for this long to finally get a deal done. Good for you, Pasta, regardless of what the deal is. Just to get something back is awesome to see. All right, so Redwoods gets Cooper Kupp in a 4th. Pasta gets Hollywood Brown, Brock Purdy, 23 5th, and a 23 3rd. Mike, given the shit format best ball settings, it's consolidation on a rebuild. What say you?
On the rebuild side, I like it. You know what I mean? Like for this price, I'll take the gamble on Cooper Kupp. I don't think he's dead. Okay, he's still going to carry name value for some people. They were way too high on him right when his injury first happened. Right, we saw that specifically. People were slow to adjust.
1,000%.
People still thought you were getting like top 24 wide receivers straight up for him.
People were wanting over a first.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
In which world do you live?
Yeah, 100%. As a rebuilder, though, like I'm willing to gamble on a Cooper Kupp, retaining some of that name value and rebounding when he's fully healthy. Granted, the Rams are probably a dumpster fire shit show. I mean, they're already a dumpster fire shit show, but even more of a dumpster fire shit show heading into 2023.
Baker Reagan.
Yeah, whether that's like means Cooper Kupp will be an elite fantasy producer or not, I'm going to err on the side of probably not elite from what we've expected or seen from Cooper Kupp for the last 2 years. But even like 80% Cooper Kupp is still really good. Really good. And somebody will buy Cooper Kupp when he's fully healthy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care what the age is. That's not going to factor into it. When he's going out there and he's catching 10 passes a game for 100 yards, people are going to want that on their fantasy roster. So I'm okay acquiring Cooper Kupp, actively sending out offers for contenders who have Cooper Kupp, like Redwoods acquired here. On the other side of it, when I look at Pasta, like you want to get off of him. And maybe it's just because I hate Hollywood Brown so much, even in a best ball format. I just don't get it, man. I don't get what everyone's so excited about. He did it for like 2 weeks. Congratulations. Outside of that, nothing. Brock Purdy, please stop. Stop with this. The 3rd, whatever. The 5th, obviously gross. Who cares? It almost feels like you're selling a Cooper Kupp injured too low. You know what I mean? Like people are trying to sell him too high early. This feels too low to me. This just no, I don't like it. I would take the Redwood side 10 out of 10 times here, man. I like it much better. Not gonna lie. You're on mute too, so we just fucking continue this dumpster fire. Hollywood Brown comes up, shit goes to hell.
So, man, I'm thinking about this, and like I hear what you're saying. I get all the pieces that you're bringing to the table, but let me say this, man. If you're Pasta, and I don't know shit 4 probably as well as I should, because I can guarantee you my team's not competing here. Otherwise, I would know what all the dynamics of this side, right? And shocker to y'all, I'm leaning into a rebuild purposefully. But okay, Mike, let me say this.
He is the 2 seed.
Right.
He is the 2 seed,
and I figured
he's the top scorer in the league.
There you go. Okay, so you have a very good team with a window right now to win. Okay. Cooper Kupp is not going to give you damn fucking thing.
He's giving you a 0, 100%. Yes.
Hollywood last 2 weeks back, right? Off the injury. Here's what I'll say. They haven't amounted to fucking shit. They've probably given you as much value as Cooper Kupp has in your lineup the last 2 weeks.
He has not made a lineup in that league. Wide receiver 43 and wide receiver 56, respectively.
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. I was just looking at his shit recently, whether it was AMA or whatever. What I will say, though, Mike, is this. You got 8 targets in both these last 2 weeks. It is a Colt McCoy-led offense, but I do think Hollywood Brown possesses the ability versus Denver, Tampa, and Atlanta to take any one of those 8 targets for 30, 50, 80 yards, honestly. Like, I think it's in the range of outcomes. Okay. Now you give me Purdy, right? So I think Purdy has the opportunity to be the starter for the rest of the year. We do know he's dealing with his injury, but I think if he's capable and able to go, he's going to play these next 3 weeks. Like, I think you're basically, in shit 4, I think what's awesome is in best ball, Purdy is one of these guys that you love picking up. Like, in lineup, fuck, man, are you actually going to play Purdy? Like, are you really going to play Purdy? I don't know. I hope you're not. And if you're playing him in the playoffs, man, you are just literally getting lucky. But in best ball, you saw what he did. He's got all those weapons. Like, everybody that was hyping up Jimmy G, listen, I'm not trying to hate on Jimmy G, but Mr. Irrelevant can lead that offense to a 35-7 win over Tom Brady. Like, he's in a good position to score points. I don't even care about these picks, but you got back the best pick in the deal.
That's fair.
Mike,
that's a third.
I don't know, honest to God, in best ball, can you – I know what you're saying on Redwood's side, but I challenge you this. Is it possible, and if so, bring it to the trade show, bring it anywhere in the fucking world. Can you get a better deal for Cooper Kupp today than this on a team that you think you can win today?
That's true. It might have been the best thing you could do.
And honestly, man, I'll be honest. I think if you go most other leagues, you cannot get this. And especially, I know it's like kind of bullshit, right? 3rd versus a 4th, but you got a pick upgrade. That's hilarious to me for Cooper Kupp. Like, I actually think he did a pretty good job given all this. I will say, come next year, I'll be very interested to see the difference in Cooper Kupp and Hollywood Brown. And the reason I think I'm really more okay with Pasta's side after getting all that off is this. Like, Cooper Kupp, okay, you can probably sell name value. But let's remember, going into the first year of Matthew Stafford, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp were going very close in startups. Cooper Kupp was going ahead of him, but Robert Woods was going not far behind. And the big conversation was like, McVay at that time was running all this 12 personnel. He was over the Goff experience. And people were like, well, when you take Cooper Kupp's slot ability away, he can't thrive. So people were unsure of what to do with Cooper Kupp. Matthew Stafford turned this guy into, because of all the targets, into a god, right? Now, I'm not saying Cooper Kupp couldn't be good with other quarterbacks, but my point is, I don't think the Rams are just going to sign away Cooper Kupp. He's going to be on a dog shit team next year. They don't have a first. They got Baker Reagan, whatever they think they can get in the free agent market. There's talks of Stafford and McVay and Donald and all these guys retiring. The offensive line's horrible. Like, I think you can sell Cooper Kupp in the summer, but I don't know that it's a lock for what his value is actually going to hold, given he's going to be so old, man. I think Redward's made a good play here on the rebuild because of the ascension possibility of Kupp, but I actually don't think it's as bad as I think that some people will look at this for Pasta, given all the settings in best ball.
That's fair. I would just say, like, if I'm Pasta, though, like, I know Redwards wants to get off Brock Purdy. Like, he means nothing to him.
Easily.
You can talk all this.
That's why he gave up a pick swap. He gave him a better pick swap, right? That's how much he wanted off of Purdy.
Just get me off of this guy while he still has some value. before, people wake up and realize that he's bad at football too.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Honestly, I think it's a good deal. And I could see, like let me say this. If Pasta wins, like if Hollywood Brown and Purdy give him weeks in the playoffs and he wins, I don't think he's going to give a damn about losing Cooper Kupp, given all the situation. For Ryan, though, like what you sunk into this to possibly get a Cooper Kupp ascension, like I like it for both sides. Let me just say that. All right, we got our boy Blitz, 12-team Superflex Best Ball Start 13, tight end premium. The fact that it's Start 13 in Best Ball, this is a shit league. And if you didn't know, we got B Hall in here to really let you know for sure. All right, Mike, here you go. We got a dumpster dive running back deal. Damian Harris for Lat Murray in a 5th and 24. Let's just admit we can get rid of that in 2 years.
The 5th means nothing. No one gives a shit.
Damian Harris on a rebuild or Lat Murray on a contender, or because I don't even have if that's the directional piece. Like just period. What do you want?
You'll take Lat Murray on the contender, but you'll definitely take Damian Harris on the rebuilder. I know I have in the startup where I'm banking on the fact he's a free agent next year. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he lands in Dallas and he's like the 1B to Tony Pollard, or maybe he's a fucking starter when they let Zeke go, and maybe they can't resign Tony Pollard. Maybe he's the starter in Dallas. I don't know. Damian Harris, anyways, I'm willing to take the bet on him long-term versus Latavius Murray. Like, we know these next few games are probably the last few games Latavius Murray is ever going to have of relevance. But, yeah, if I'm on the contender in a best ball league, I don't have to start Latavius Murray. I'd much rather have him than Damian Harris just because he's actually playing. He's in the lineup. He's healthy. He's starting. I like the deal for both guys. I really do. If I'm on a rebuilder, give me Damian Harris 10 out of 10. But if I'm on a contender, give me Latavius Murray for my Damian Harris. Pretty easy. The 5th is whatever.
Yeah, I think the 5th is apparently B Hall needed grease. Now, B Hall, let me say this. B Hall, I love you. You're one of our patrons. But, like, I would love to know. You can put it in the comments. You can put it in Discord. You can just yell at me and say I'm crazy for this part of it. Like, I would love to know how you think the Damian Harris side versus the Murray side for you on a contender warranted that 5th being a part of it. Because to me, that means fucking nothing on either direction. So holler at me, B-Hall, or Blitz. All right, we got another shit 4, man. Koopa Troopa. I saw this one go down and I was kind of interested to do it on the show. I made sure I got it to do. All right, Mike. You love yourself some Mike White. I know you do. It's a beating heart thing, man. I sense it out of you.
He's fucking horrible.
We had a whole debacle in the trade show. We got Mike White and Bam Knight for Jimmy G, who's not playing football. So you got a quarterback who is playing football, though he had a bad week last week, and you have Bam Knight, who's really showed out for a few weeks in a row now, despite Michael Carter being back, all the narratives.
Yeah.
Obviously not a long-term asset in New York with Breeze coming back, but what are your thoughts here for Koopa Troopa acquiring Jimmy G, who's likely to get a starting spot somewhere next year, given how bad the quarterback landscape is, versus Castle Black foregoing all that for Mike White and Bam Knight?
I think this is another one of those moves where if I'm on the rebuilding side, I want Jimmy G, no questions. I don't even like Jimmy G, but I think he's walking into a starting gig next year. Guaranteed. Mike White, on the other hand, hope you enjoy these last few games. This is all you got. You could talk all that the happy talk about Mike White, but he's bad at football, and we've seen it. He's good for about 8 quarters a year. We've already seen the 8 quarters, and now we're on the bad side. As much as I love Bam Knight, man, we have to be honest about what he is, man. Undrafted free agent. He has shown out. We've also seen undrafted free agents show out for an entire year and finish as RB3. And then just within a few short years, relegated to absolutely nothing. Just can't even get activated on game day. So Bam Knight, once Breece Hall comes back, if he's still in New York at that time, it was nice knowing you. See you later. You're probably gone. He's a nice story now, though. But if I'm on the contending side, like Mike White is playing, Jimmy G is not. Okay, give me that at the quarterback spot. And Bam Knight is playing at the running back spot, and you're not giving up anything else in return other than Jimmy G. So this is one of those deals where it makes sense for both sides for me. Like on the rebuilding side, yeah, give me the guy who I think might actually have a job next year and be a starting quarterback, and I'll try to flip it for whatever the hell I can get. Mike White, Zonovan Knight, if that's what it costs me, oh well. But if I'm on the contending side, I'm looking at it going like, I got a guy who's giving me zeros, not playing, out for the year. Let me get a quarterback, even if I don't like him in Mike White. He's still playing, he's still starting, and give me the running back in Bam Knight, who is playing and putting up points. So pretty easy deal for both sides. I like both. I like both. The shitheads are doing well on these last two deals.
Yeah, you know, this one here, Mike, because I was going to ask you, but you already kind of hit it. Like, regardless of what you paid, whether you got him super late in a startup this last year because Trey Lance was there, regardless of what the acquisition cost, if I'm on a contender in a best ball league and I have Jimmy G, like, he becomes an asset to me. Like, I know there's probably a value ascension, albeit nothing sexy coming. But, like, I'll forego any piece of that to try to win. Like, if I'm a contender, like, I will forego every fucking last ounce of Jimmy G's soul to try to win. And, like, when I think about it from that lens, like Mike, I was actually thinking about this the whole time I was going to ask you. If you had Jimmy G on a contender, and the best offer you were going to get for Jimmy G was Bam Knight given the last 3 weeks, would you do that on a strong contender?
Yeah. Yep. Bye.
I would too, and I think that's where I'm going to give Castle Black the easy win here, because I think that Koopa Troopa, knowing the league settings are shit for and there's no deadline, like, I think you could have gotten Castle Black to just take Bam Knight as the piece for Jimmy G, and that still leaves you Mike White to flip, or vice versa. If the guy's like, hey, I need quarterback, here's your Mike White, dude. Like, this is the best you're going to get for Jimmy G, and I'll flip Bam Knight for a third or a second somewhere else. Like, I actually think that's where, knowing the intricacies of the league and the dynamics, I'm going to lean Castle Black's side. That being said, like, there is absolutely a scenario where Mike White and Bam Knight are fucking zeros come next offseason. Jimmy G's the most valuable guy. And I will say the only thing I'll push back there is we just saw Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, do that in Frisco. This has been my thing the whole time with Jimmy G, is I think that he is good for the system. I think that, you know, if you can check the ball down to CMC, to Kittle, you can just hand the ball and basically give the ball to Debo whenever before he has the high ankle. Like, yeah, it's all good. Like, you in that system, great. But when Jimmy G has to hit the open market and he's going to throw the ball to who? Like, okay, you better move that thing in the summer, because I am not going to be the one that holds the bag on Jimmy G when he's starting for whoever the fuck has no receivers and no weapons and no line. Y'all can miss me with that. So, Koopa Troopa, that is not a dig at you. I just think that, like, if we're going to grade this deal, the intricacies lead me to Castle Black side, given the contending piece. But if you are capable of, you know, taking these pieces, holding Jimmy G and flipping Jimmy G in the summer, I think it absolutely could work out for you. So, Mike, I think that is. Oh, scratch that. We're not done with the trade show. We got two more. Two more. All right, two more. Dynasty Alex, Tyler Lockett for DJ Chark in a 24 third. This is a Superflex start 10 lineup.
Heading into the playoffs, I do love what I've seen from DJ Chark the last couple weeks, but give me Tyler Lockett, man. And if all it costs me is to go from a Chark in a third, like that's all I got to add to it. As much as I love what I've seen from him the last couple of weeks, like, give me Tyler Lockett. Perennial disrespected. Even us, you and I, disrespected him this year. Like, horribly. Man, what's it going to look like with fucking Geno Smith or Drew Lock? It didn't matter. Tyler Lockett's still good at football, still puts up numbers. Heading into the playoffs, age, throw all that shit out the window. Just give me the guy I can plug into my wide receiver 3 spot. Or, you know, in a lot of cases, if you're a really good contender, he's going to be a flex option for you. Even better, even happier. And I'll just start him up. On the other side of it, like, I do like what I've seen from Chark in the third. It's kind of just whatever. Plus note, though, from Hurts season, he's not taking the 23 third, right? He kind of feels out like this is the move that I make too when I feel that you're really good in 2023. And I know this pick's going to be late, right? I'm going to make the bet against you in 2024. I'm going to wait it out 1 year. I'm going to see how bad you are. next year. And that's the pick that I want to target. So I do like that part from it. If you can get DJ Chark back and that pick, I think I want a little bit more. Like, I'm going to really try to talk up Tyler Lockett. But honestly, man, just the way the market is on Tyler Lockett, this might be the best that you can get. It might be the best that you can get. But just looking at it, man, I like the Tyler Lockett side. I like what Dynasty Alex Plank Crew did here.
1,000%. I would say this, man, regardless of format, start 10, lineup, best ball, start 9, start 15. I'll take Lockett here. Because here I think is the thing with Chark, right? Like, there's been reason to like Chark's upside for a while, right? He had the really slow, basically didn't play rookie season. Unbelievable second year. Then he gets hurt. Then he gets signed by Detroit. Then he gets hurt. And he's had some of these moments, that flashing upside.
Yes.
But this is now a second-round pick that could be on his third team. Let me ask you this, and this is ultimately what I'm getting at. Like, what do you think DJ Chark costs? Because here's what I'll say, man. I think he's one of these players that you're never going to see someone in the offseason trade in early, even like 204, 205, 206 type for Chark.
No
but
way.
I think when you get to the late second, someone would trade that easy for Chark. And that I guess is where I'm getting at, right? Like, if you substitute late second in 23 and a 24 third, people are going crazy. People are going fucking crazy about this deal for Lockett. And that, I guess, is where I think Alex, our boy Dynasty Alex, really nailed this one. Is like, to your point, Lockett has this weird market because he's 30. You know, he's got Geno throwing him the football. He's also one of these extremely weird ones where, like, if you look at Tyler Lockett's game log, like, his target volume isn't crazy, right? Like, he's had the last couple weeks, 12 and 9, but he's had weeks of like 5 targets the last few. But he's got a touchdown every single week the last 6 weeks with a bye sandwiched in between. The thing about Lockett is all that being said, Geno 30, he is a top 10 wide receiver on the year. Like, if I can go get a top 10 receiver on the year for DJ Chark in the third, I don't care what happens. I don't care if DJ Chark becomes the craziest enigma in the world and is absolutely like a top 15 receiver in 2 years because of all of his intangibles. Like, I'll forego it. I don't care. Give me the chance. Give me the chance on Tyler Lockett. This is too light.
That's never going to happen, but
I
like it.
That's an enigma. That would be the craziest rare scenario, right? Like, some team signs him.
Yep.
He stays healthy. You see all the great upside for a full year. Like, I could sleep at night knowing I got a top 10 receiver.
Even if you told me this is like the 207 and the 307 for Tyler Lockett, I still want Tyler Lockett.
Way light.
You told me it's the 206 and 306 for Tyler Lockett.
What pick is what pick do you pause in the second round? Is it 202, 201?
204 or better. I would say 204 and better. Like, if you told me the 204 and the 304 for Tyler Lockett, I could re-roll Tyler Lockett for that. You know what I mean? Like, give me the first third of the second round. And gotcha. I might find a running back or I might find a wide receiver. And then I also get an early third. Like, I get the 304.
Yeah, top 16 pick and top 30 pick, right.
If you combine the two. If it's just standalone, you don't put that third in, right? I think you're right, man. I think straight up for Tyler Lockett, like, I need the 203, I need the 202. Yeah. I need that, period.
That's my point. And I think you sold Chark on a boom week off of an injury in a third to go get yourself a top 10 receiver this season to help win.
I got a lot of DJ Chark on some rebuilders. I wish I could get that. I wish I could get.
You know, Dynasty Alex, man. Way to go. Last deal of the day. Listen, I don't know. I don't think that we've seen Hawaii 96707
there you go.
On the trade show. So this is how you know it's the last deal of the day. We don't have settings, Mike, other than it is Darnold in a Superflex league. So he is acquiring a 24 seconds for Darnold and Robinson. The thing I saw in the chat, it wasn't a whole lot. There wasn't like specifics, but this is a team I think he's targeting that has the ability to be a bad one. And this is one of those trades that signals that because you're getting a second. He's getting a dumpster fire quarterback and a hurt receiver, right? He's foregoing picks in 2 years. Like, he's targeting that, hoping there's a scenario where that's an early pick in 24 and you're getting rid of Darnold and Wan'Dale.
I would say this, man. If that pick ends up in the back half, it's gross, man. I'd rather just have Sam Darnold, Wan'Dale Robinson now. Because Sam Darnold's a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's at least worth a third, and probably an early third. That's just the way it works. Wan'Dale, while he's injured, torn ACL, he did have some promising moments. I think there's a lot of Wan'Dale shares. If you have them, you could send them away and get any kind of third that you want right now, and somebody would pay that. Like, we talk about that fuck around and find out. Like, there are people around there that want to fuck around and find out if Wan'Dale Robinson's any good at football, if he can recover from this knee injury. You tell me, though, this is a pick. This is the kind of greasy sleazeball shit I like to do, where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make the bet against you that in 2024, you don't know what the hell you're doing, and I might be with the 204. I might, or the 201. I might be with the 202, the 203 at worst. I'll send you an injured Wan'Dale Robinson and a quarterback that hasn't been very good at times and has been the bane of a lot of people's existences. I like it from Hawaii, man. I can see the sleazeball shit in him in this deal. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot, especially knowing that he doesn't think this guy's going to be very good. Like, I'm going to calculate it. I'm going to look at your roster and be like, well, this guy's going to have Brady retire. Hell, Jimmy G might not have a job. I'm giving him Sam Darnold and Wan'Dale Robinson. Both these guys could flop and be absolute zeros. Oh, yeah, this dude's screwed. Yeah, let me bank against his 24 pick. I like it. I like it a lot. Hawaii did a great job here, man.
Well, you know what's funny, though? So I don't know the settings, but given the fact that it wasn't mentioned, it's best ball, I start thinking lineup. And I guess that
you want to start either one of these dudes in the lineup,
right?
League. Oh,
I think
God.
That's where, like, I totally want to lean this 24-second. Let me just say the one thing on the other side, although I don't envision a scenario where I'll ever do this, period, for myself. But if I had to try to argue it, is this: Carolina's 3-1 in the division. Carolina is one game away from having the division lead.
Yeah, and being a playoff team.
Whatever the hell you have to say about Sam Darnold, I don't think, given these last few weeks they have, that they're going to be positioned, Tepper or not, all the fucking, money he wants this like, I don't know what they do at quarterback. Like, I don't. Like,
yeah.
Is there this is insane to say on the trade show. Is there a scenario where I didn't think Sam Darnold could be the starter last year given how bad he played, but he's the starter next year? Yeah.
Yeah.
Superflex, Sam Darnold. We've seen him have some rushing upside, 2 touchdown rushing games. Like, there's probably a crazy scenario where you could trade Sam Darnold for something awesome. I shouldn't say awesome, but better than like a late 24-second.
You're
and
not
some
lying,
of these
man.
crazy leads, even in lineup.
We're watching like 9th year breakout Geno Smith. Right now.
Mike, we talked about this. I wrote about this for sure on the newsletter 2 years ago. Sam Darnold, after the first 4 weeks, was like a top 15, top 10 quarterback. I watched multiple firsts being traded for this guy, and people were like, "Yo, Sam Darnold was the truth. It was just the Jets." Turns out they just had this good defense and a shit schedule. Like, no. Well, I don't know. People get crazy in Superflex. We know how bad it is. All right, so there's my rant to try to defend the other side. I'd like to do that. That being said, man, if this pick becomes an early to mid 24 seconds, like the scenario of Sam Darnold's trade value, I think in most sharp leagues is not good. Wan'Dale is looking at a decent recovery here, and he already was, I think, someone that was people didn't value highly in Dynasty, right? They didn't love his prospect profile. They didn't love a lot of the stuff. He was starting to prove people wrong. Then he has the injury. He's out for the rest of the year. Who knows? He'll probably be back start of the year, but there's never a guarantee with that. And there's also never a guarantee like what the situation in New York is, how good he's going to be. I mean, Kadarius Toney had, flashes as a rookie and then didn't play and was traded. I mean, I just think on the whole, the 24-second I know is going to accrue value. Yes. And I think more often than not, I'm going to take this side of the deal unless I'm in one of these leagues where I know like I can just quarterback hoard and I can trade Darnold for something stupid. I think the smart play is taking the 24-second. If you think there's a chance of it being early, holy hell, man, because that class is so good. That's a top 15 pick. You robbed our boy, which we can't even see the name because you blacked it out, and that's okay. But yeah, in the future, just let us know the name. But Mike, man, crazy deals, man. What'd you think? We are looking at playoff deals here, right? A lot of the trade deadlines are already closed. In the shit leagues, man, we don't even know what a trade deadline means. What do you mean deadline?
The only deadlines I have in the leagues that I commission are the ones that got whined about and 7 people voted for. But these are playoff deals. These are money-making deals. These are deals from leagues with cash on the line, stakes on the line, bragging rights on the line. So as you can see, man, some people did really well. Some people know how to leverage stuff, and somebody knows how to think in advance, think down the road. We had a lot of deals that you kind of have to project out, right? And give a bunch of scenarios of what you think this realistically could be in the future going forward. And that's the fun thing about Dynasty deals. But it's even more fun at this time when that cash is staring you at the face and your overconfidence, your ego comes into play going, yeah, I may be the 6th seed, but let me go get Keenan Allen. This is the one piece I've been missing. I know I'm the 7th lowest scoring team in the league, but this is the one to push me over the top. I love you, Goose. That was a horrible trade. It was a horrible deal. It was a great one to be back on, man. We had a lot of good in-depth deals. Generally, we were kind of thinking once most leagues trade deadlines pass, we wouldn't have a lot of deals to break down. But joke's on us. Most of the people who submitted these deals are in a shit ton of our patron leagues, and we don't have trade deadlines at them. So we have all the deals we could ever want to break down, including FAAB deals between you and I. Who would have guessed?
Right. If you're in a shit league, the only trade deadline that you have is if you decide not to pay your dues on time and you get booted. Because the trade deadline is only then because you can trade anytime. I will say, Mike, when I start to look at some of these deals, like I can see where people that are not overly constantly thinking about Dynasty 24/7 want a deadline, because I think this is what happens as you get really close to, like, there's nut cutting time, right? Now this is different. This is like, I'm going to overpay to go get a ship. And I think what happens is people that don't really get deep into Dynasty, they have a problem with, like, they want to have their cake and eat it too. So they're wanting to hold picks. They don't want to have to get into this crusty dead zone where when you have some of these deals that are post playoff time and it's like, okay, there's 4 teams left in the playoffs. I want to go win. What can I give you to get Nuke and all these like very old Tyler Lockett's, right, of the world? Like, if you saw a Tyler Lockett and Nuke Hopkins deal go down and you didn't see a first go back, people would go crazy, right? Like, yeah. I think that's what causes people to panic with the trade deadline. But honestly, for me, I love these type deals. This is your money. If you want to go rebuild, if you are in the position and you have some of these crusties you haven't moved off of and you can make a deal, why should I tell you not to? If you're in the position where maybe you're not the best contender, you're the 6th seed, but you want to push your chips in, who the hell am I to tell you don't do it? Like, that's where I think Dynasty is convoluted is, listen, when you make a trade, the whole league isn't supposed to say, oh, this is a great deal. Like, I love this for everybody. No, if you're a contender, you're supposed to hate when some other contender makes a deal that gets crusty and gives you 2 pieces that are going to be awesome. That's what makes Dynasty fun. Everybody should have an opportunity to trade, even when the playoffs are here. If you are tuned into this and you like the content, but you're not in any of these leagues that have, trade deadlines that don't exist, feel free to, join patreon.com/South Harmon. You can get into our trade show, $1 a month. 1, you can put your trades in the Discord. We'll review them on the show. And 2, all offseason, you can join startups with Mike and myself and everybody else out here making deals where we don't do deadlines. We don't even know what that means. So,
what's a deadline?
Do that. Also, if you're new, subscribe to the channel. We're getting close. We're at over 750 now. Once we get to 1,000, we have at least 4 jersey giveaways coming. We appreciate everyone tapping in. And Mike, anything else you had to get to before the jersey giveaways?
That's all I got, man. We just we banged out 5.5 hours of content tonight. We did the show with John McGlynn. We did our AMA. We did our YouTube giveaway, previous one for the patrons, and then the trade show. And I just wanted to prove the point that while Ray G may be on the show, and I may lack in persona and intelligence of Ray G, I do not lack in the stamina department. And if he can go for an hour, I can go for an hour. I got this. No, I thank Ray for being on. I thank you for handling it, all the guests that we had last week. And I thank you, the audience, for tuning in, all the subscribers, pushing us towards 1,000. I can't wait to get there and do a video giving away some sweet-ass signed jerseys. As Adam said, there's 4 right now. Y'all testing my patience though, man. I have this buying problem. It might be 6 before you know it. It might be 7. Who the hell knows? Not 6, not 7, not 8. I might be LeBron. I might be counting up to 50 at this point, but that's all I got. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Dynasty Trade Show. It has been phenomenal to be back. Brush the rust off. We're back right into it, man. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, man. Glad to have you back on. Thank you, everybody, for tapping in. Always good to think Saturday morning Dynasty trades. What's going on in my leagues? What's going on in other leagues if I can't trade in my leagues? If that's the case, maybe figure out a new league. Either way, we will see you back here, same time, same place, next week. Even though your deadline's closed, we're going to be reviewing trades. We're out of this thing. Peace.
Boom. Peace.